class, the shutdown and the exit, and then we did the sunk cost, right? And that's where we left off. Okay. So let us go backwards here. I'm going to just fly through all of these, make sure everybody's up to speed. It's just repeats good, or it just helps. So, all right, total revenue is price times quantity. So obviously, if you sell 2 units, you have $6 per unit, then your total revenue is going to be $12. Everybody should be okay with that. Average revenue is kind of just a derivation of the same exact formula, but instead, average revenue is total revenue divided by units of output. So if your total revenue is $12 and you sell 2 units, so it's 12 divided by 2. You guys good? Good? Alright, so the average revenue is we've been through this real fast, let me just real fast again. Alright, so average revenue is total revenue divided by quantity. Total revenue is price times quantity. Quantities cancel out, that leaves total revenue being equal to the price. And I hope that, when you look at the graph, it makes, or the table, sorry, it makes sense. I mean, it should, I hope it does. Marginal revenue is what you get for selling 1 more unit. Marginal revenue equals the price of the good, and the logic is pretty straightforward, is that if the price is $6 and you sell 1 more unit, then the additional revenue you're getting is $6. So that's pretty straightforward. And it seems like, wasn't that always the case? And it's not, because when we get into monopolies, the price curves are different, and so it has an impact on the way that works. And we'll talk about that later. All right, so everybody okay with this table? Everybody cool with it? Price $6, total revenue, just 1 second. Total revenue is just price times quantity. Average revenue is total revenue divided by output. Marginal revenue is what you get for selling 1 more unit. Yes, ma'am?
The triangle means change, correct?
Delta, yeah, change
okay.
in. And that's, actually, I'm not supposed to go there. I know that's weird. The reason is because economics is a social science transfer. I know.
Okay.
So let me, I don't want to go too off track here, but for a lot of the students, not all, but probably maybe half, are taking this class as part of, their major is psychology or sociology or something like that. And there's no prereq for this class. And so, having calculus, which is kind of, if you're going to major in economics, you're going to need it. But, this is entry-level economics, and there's just a hint of calculus in there, and I'm not supposed to go down that road.
Okay.
I know, it's crazy.
But
hey, whatever.
Like the marginal cost or whatever, marginal revenue, staying the same as the price.
Yep.
But, I mean, with the supply and demand curve, that changes price, right?
It does, and you're totally right. Give me a second, and I'll show you where that comes into play. You're totally right. So is everybody okay with this? Any questions about this at all? Should be okay, good. The goal of the firm is to maximize profit, not maximize total revenue, because you can keep always increasing your revenue. But why wouldn't you just increase your revenue ad nauseum? Why won't you keep I'll just make more because there's more total revenue to be made. Every time I sell another one, my total revenue is going up. So why don't I just keep producing more?
Total cost goes up as well.
Yeah, because my cost curve is increasing, and they're because of diminishing marginal product, my marginal cost curve is going up, and I keep producing until my marginal cost curve intersects with my marginal revenue. And if I go beyond that, then my marginal cost is exceeding the revenue. It makes no sense for me to do it.
You're trying to put somebody out of business.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the Walmart thing, where they produce up way, above where their marginal revenue is exceeding their cost, but they can hang in there for a while because they have other products that it's underneath, and so they're balancing each other out. Well, Joe's Tire Shop goes out of business.
Predatory pricing.
They can legally get away with it because they're averaging it in. If they were just selling every product at a loss, it's actually just.
Well, the logic there is not quite right, but your Prince, I understand what you're saying, but it's not that it's legal. It's that Walmart can kind of prove, did I tell you this? And forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Is that Walmart can hire gunslinger attorneys, the $1 million retainers, and they can hire 3 of them from New York City. And Joe's Tire Shop here in Redding hires Joe Schmo, JD, who's been in business for a year. Not only that, but he's out of money because Walmart's been gouging him for a year. And so by the time he gets to court, you got these three gunslinger attorneys coming from New York City who've been down this road 20 times, and it's me, little Anthony's tire shop, and some local attorney. I'm cooked. And then not only that, but Walmart can tend to prove that they're more efficient, and they are. You know, and everybody's winning in terms of price except, well, Joe's tire shop, but he can come work for Walmart, so it's okay. Let's see, so let me go through a couple. Is everybody pretty clear on all this stuff, more or less? Okay. And then just slow me down or stop if you want to talk about any of it. So we produce 0 gallons. We have total revenue of 0. Our total cost is $3, which is, what cost is that coming from? That $3, where's it coming from?
Fixed cost.
Fixed cost, good. Okay, and then we have no marginal, no profit. Next day we come in 1 gallon of gas or milk or whatever. Our total revenue is $6, which implies we can derive from that the price. If we saw 1 unit, we get revenue of $6, and the price must be equal to $6. Total cost is now $5, so our marginal cost goes from 3 to 5, which, beg your pardon, marginal cost is the difference between these two, which is $2, which is over here. Our profit is just this minus this, our revenue minus our cost. Marginal revenue, 1 more unit. Our marginal cost difference between these two, and our change in profit goes from -3 to 1, so our change in profit is 4. All right, so now we increase our output, and what's happening is our marginal cost is increasing at an increasing rate due to diminishing marginal product. We keep increasing up until marginal revenue and marginal cost intersect, and then we're maximizing what? What are we maximizing? Well, there's two things really, but what are we maximizing when marginal revenue and marginal cost intersect?
Profit.
Profit, we're maximizing profit, and the other part of, you're right, but what's the component of that profit? Quantity, good, whoever said that. So you're maximizing Q, quantity, and you're also maximizing your profit. Okay, so here's that in a graph. And this goes back to something, was it you or somebody? You, okay. Somebody said it, the supply curve. Well, isn't it true that as the price changes that you move along the curve? True. However, remember with a perfectly competitive firm, what's the supply curve look like? What does it look like? Remember we did these, there's really elastic and really inelastic, right? And in a perfectly competitive market, remember like tomatoes or something like that? The price is $4. At a price under $4, I'll sell as many as I want, right? Price at $4.01, 0, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Looking up here, you see the supply curve?
Okay.
Yeah, and we're gonna. You're right on the money, and I'm glad you said it. You're right there. We're gonna talk more about it in just a second. So going back to this, let's see, marginal cost curve, the supply curve, the demand curve, price equals AR equals MR. Everybody cool with all that stuff? I mean, just kind of where it's coming from. We're gonna apply it all in just a second. Average total cost is a summation of what two cost curves? Average total cost is equal to what? What plus what?
There's cost and variable cost.
Yeah, average fixed and average variable cost. Good. And then we have an average variable cost here, but we don't have the average fixed cost isn't there. Let me go back in like one class just to make sure everybody's clear. What's the primary characteristic of the average fixed cost? What does that curve do and why? Average fixed, it's not up here, but what does that curve do and why?
It falls very fast at first and continues to fall, but at a decreasing rate.
Good. And why does it do that?
Diminishing marginal product. No?
So you have a larger denominator. You're dividing it into
Yeah, kind of both you guys said it at the same time. Is that it's just the fixed cost is just getting divided by, well, yeah, larger and larger units, so it's getting divided into smaller and smaller increments, and so the average fixed cost falls quick at first and then continues to fall forever, but at a decreasing rate. Average variable cost, it does what and why? Is that up here? Yeah, average, this one's bowed down, don't worry about that right now. That's just showing efficiency of scale, yeah. Average variable cost.
You know how we were just talking about the curve and it continues to always fall? Can it continue to always fall at 0.000, like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
like
Smaller
infinite
increments.
zeros and
Absolutely.
then a 1 at the end?
Yeah, because think about it this way, is that Here's a good example of that. And it's kind of almost antiquated at this point, but this is really just from a couple of years ago, is that when, like Windows 7, which is now the last generation Windows, when Microsoft did all the research and development on Windows 7, okay, so they did it, they created it, and here it is, right? So all the cost is done. It's a fixed cost. They've done all their R&D. It's all applied, research and development. And let's say it cost them $1 million, okay? So each time they slapped out another disk of Windows 7, it gets, so the first disk, it cost them $1 million in fixed cost. The second disk they punched out, it cost them $500,000. The third disk was $300,000. The fourth disk was $250,000. And they slap out, you know, by the time they slap out their millionth disk, the average fixed cost is down to $1. You see what I'm saying? And now they slap out 10 million, the average fixed cost is down to 10 cents. Huh? I saw another hand, sorry.
I was just answering your question before you started.
Rambling, babbling on. Okay, so is everybody pretty much okay with all that? All right, good. So profit this is on the exam. I'll just say it. The profit maximization occurs when marginal revenue, marginal cost intersect, and that's the same with monopoly too. That's why I say the principles are really identical. You know, the characteristics are different, but the principles and the way marginal revenue, marginal cost intersect, all that stuff's the same. So if you get it now, monopoly is just, it's easy because it's really the same thing. All right, marginal revenue, marginal cost intersect is where they maximize their profit. And what's, well, I guess you guys really know the answer to this, is that marginal cost is underneath the marginal revenue. You know, it's costing you $4, you're making $6, so you should increase your output. Next one costs you $5, you're making $6. Increase your output. Next one costs you $6, you're making $6, and you've maximized your Q. If you produce one more unit, then the next unit costs you $7, you're making $6, and you've overshot your Q. All right. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Has everybody got that? Even the sleeping ones?
The only reason you go to even profit is to get all the loose change.
Yeah, exactly. Did everybody hear what he just said? That's a pretty good way of saying it, really. Say it again, and I'll go back to that. What did you just say?
The reason you go to even, no profit, even, is to capture all the loose change.
Yeah, so the reason that you move from 4 units, even though, okay, we make $1 of additional profit, and we go to 5 units and we're making, it looks, well, we're not making any more additional profit by doing that, but what you really are, you're making the 75 cents, the 50 cents, the 25, the 10, 9, 8, 7, and then that last unit that you produce, that last penny you spend is what you get back, that you've maximized your Q. That's a good way of putting it, I like that. All right, okay, so marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. You should increase your output. When it's less than marginal cost, decrease it. When it's equal, then you're maximizing your Q. Okay, and then I think this is kind of where you were going, and we'll talk about it right now. So the marginal cost curve above the average total cost curve is the supply curve. That gives rise to what we just talked about. There's a couple of costs. Maybe if you want to jot that down, that's going to be our topic of conversation. So maybe a second to write that down won't hurt. Okay, the portion of the marginal cost curve above average total cost is the long run supply curve. Sounds really complicated, but it's really like...
One more time? Can you say it one more time?
The value of the marginal product of labor is equal to the wage minus, no. Everybody's like, no. You suck. Alright, let me say it again. The portion of the marginal cost curve above average total cost is the long run supply curve. And we're going to talk all about that right now. All right, so the portion of the marginal cost curve that's above average total cost is the long run supply curve. gives rise to these concepts that I know I kind of like threw them out of nowhere, but this is where it fits in about the shutdown and exit. Everybody okay? All right. So we defined these already: the shutdown and the exit. So shutdown is a decision to temporarily close your doors. All right. Now this is kind of a heady concept. All right. Let me throw it at you, and then we'll talk about it. All right. So the shutdown is when you temporarily shut your doors. You shut down. What?
He said shut the doors and the door shut.
There you go. And then Mia Kunis walks in.
That'd be weird.
That's right. You guys know who Mia Park? You know? Mila?
Mila.
Mila Kunis? Oh my goodness. I was trying to help you out, man. Had nothing to do with me, I was thinking about you.
Right.
Yeah, use that.
He said when the door shuts, you shut the door. Yes. Ashton, put your skin on it.
I don't know what's going on. You guys want to see a head game? Let's see if this works. I'll try. I've never tried this before. I've been thinking about trying it. Just to divert from this heavy crap. Let's talk. Let me see if this works. Okay. All right, everybody. Think. Okay, I'm going to read your minds. Let me see. I hope this works. Pick a number. Just pick a number in your head. All right, got it? Subtract 8. Don't tell me what it is. Okay, pick a number. Okay, that didn't work at all. I'll have to work on it then. That didn't work at all. Negative number. It's like,
Pick a number above 8.
Huh?
Pick a number above 8.
Pick any number.
Subtract 8.
Pick any number, double it, divide it by 2, add 8.
Rick's got it.
Too confusing for me. Pick a number above 12. Okay, subtract half that number. Subtract 2.
I'm on that right here.
That's it. It's really like, I gotta get my cellular calculator out. My solar calculator. It's not working. I blew it. I already screwed it up. I'll
Good
try.
game.
The number you're thinking is 8.
4.
Wasn't it like one person is like, oh, it's amazing. Out of 50
How did he
people,
do
one
that?
person-
Wow.
Everybody else was like, nah, it was
That
not.
was awesome.
Alright. Let me back up. Okay, I got it. Focus. Okay. Think this through. Okay. What's the company of the water park
Works.
up here? What's it called?
Waterworks.
I never get that right. Waterworks. Is Waterworks open right now?
No,
Why not?
because it's off season.
Okay, so the price that they could command to getting people in their door has fallen a bit, has it not? Because now the supply and demand says that the price has gone down. All right, and so Waterworks, the price that they would charge to get people to come there now, I mean, they could probably really realistically lower their price, and there would be some hardcore people that would be like, dude, Waterworks, $2 a day.
If they heated the water, it might be possible.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there would be a couple of people, it's like, dude, did you hear pot is legal in Washington and Waterworks is open? It doesn't get any better. So they can probably drive some customers, right? Now, but
Oh my God.
what's the issue is that, now we're going to put, let's say we put, I've never been to Waterworks, I don't know, but they have that one big thing where you climb up the stairs, and it's like, you know, the Terminator, I don't know what it's called. If they put a person at the top of the stairs at the Terminator, you get like, where's this story going? now we've got the price down to $2 a day. What's going to happen is that we'll get 3 or 4 customers, but the revenue that we're generating isn't going to be enough to pay for the person standing at the top of the terminator. It's not going to be enough to pay for the variable costs, meaning the cost to clean up the water, get it ready for customers, the cost to run the pumps and the heaters and all that stuff that goes into running that place, right? That's all variable cost, right? Because as they get customers, they turn all that crap on and they hire people to man, you know what I'm saying? All these costs that go into running it, right now they wouldn't generate enough revenue to pay for their variable cost.
You could
Does
just
that make
hire
sense?
one person to follow you around the whole time.
Yeah, right. With the pump from, are you okay, boss?
And then you just operate all the equipment.
Yeah, are you warm enough? Go ahead.
Does this kind of work like with the time that a business like shuts down, like it closes at night?
What are you thinking?
Well, when I worked at Lowe's, like they would stay open till 10 o'clock. Wait, I think it was 10. I don't know if anymore.
Later.
But it'd be pointless. We get like 2 people.
I
That's
understand.
it. And their lights are on, and all the employees are still there.
I understand. And the answer to your question is it worthwhile for Lowe's to keep their doors open until 10 p.m. to capture those 2 or 3 other customers? Answer, yeah, it is.
Okay.
And the reason is because as long as you're making enough money to cover your variable costs, you'll hang in there.
Yeah.
If the price falls below average variable cost, then Waterworks shuts their doors. Not for good. They just shut their doors for the season.
I
Right?
never thought that it's like 3 people all around the world, all around the nation. Those 3 people. I forgot about that.
Say that again.
Because it's a corporation, so it's a big company.
Yeah.
So there's 3 people all around the nation that are
I
getting their
got you.
stuff.
And as long as those 3 people are covering the variable costs
Yeah.
for Lowe's, then they'll keep their doors open. Because they're still making money. I mean, they're not covering their total cost, but they're making enough money to have the rationale to keep their doors open to pay for their variable costs.
And they make it average, don't they?
Well, yeah,
Like they average it.
we'll get into that in a minute. Just give me a second, but understand the logic here, what I'm talking about. Think about Water World, Water Park. Hey,
Say water park.
Water Park.
Waterworks Park.
that right now, they still have fixed costs, right? They still have their, security and accountant and their rent and all that stuff. That's not going away, right? So those costs are still existing, right? But if they open their doors, they have to pay for personnel, they have to pay for the water maintenance, they have to pay for the heater, blah, blah, blah. And the only way that they'll open their doors is if they can generate enough revenue to constitute paying for all those variable costs. If they open their doors and they get 1 customer, well, the person is standing at the top of the terminator isn't going to get paid. Why would we do that? Doesn't make any sense. All right? Now let me go on. I know it's kind of like, well, that's a little bit murky. Okay, let me see if this helps a little bit. Is that the exit? So yeah, that's the shutdown. So Waterworks shuts down over the winter because during the summer their price is up way the hell up here. Right? They're making tons of money. Okay? Then as the winter comes, their price falls because the demand is slipping away. They move down their marginal cost curve. And yeah, there comes a point where they're not covering their variable costs and then they shut their doors. Just temporarily. They'll come back in the spring. Now, for another company though, in the long run, if you're operating underneath average total cost for a year, see, Waterworks can afford to do that because in the summer they're making tons of money. In the fall, they slip down, the price slips down underneath the price, underneath the average, I need the graph. Hold on. In the
What the heck?
fall, what happens, so this is where they're operating, see their price is up here, right? In the summer. And then as fall comes, then the price, which is here, it's not on this, but the price starts to come down, 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 down. And they're still operating in this area right here because they're paying for their variable costs. Right? There comes a point where if we open our doors today, we're not making enough money to pay for the people that are coming in to man the slides. we open our doors and those people aren't getting paid, then we're stupid, all right? So what they do is when there comes a point when they're not getting enough customers to pay for their variable costs, then they just shut their doors temporarily. And then they wait for next spring, and in early spring they'll start off here and they'll go like this, and they'll go back up, and the price is just moving up because of demand, right? And then they'll top out somewhere up here where they're making tons of money, and then fall will come, and then they'll slide back down just like that until they don't make enough money to cover their variable costs, and then they shut down temporarily. All right. Now, is everybody okay with that? Go ahead.
I was just wondering if there was a name for, like, you know, say they offset their fixed costs, which they have anyway. They can't do it by variable costs. To, like, say they could have, you know, a lifeguard school group swimming lessons or something to cover that fixed cost and offset it, as long as they were covering the variable costs.
Yeah.
Their profit.
Right.
Is there a name for that move?
Well, I think it's just staying in business in the short run. I mean, I don't know if maybe as we go, maybe you'll find what you're looking for. I'm not quite sure if there's like, oh, here it's called, you know, the efficient, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so the firm shuts down in the short run if the price falls below average variable costs, okay? And that just means that if we open our doors, we don't make enough money to pay for the help. We don't make enough money to pay for the workers, so we won't do it. And back to what you said, Lowe's, they're staying open very simply because the little bit of revenue they're generating, it's not paying their fixed costs, but it's enough to pay for the workers that are there.
Do they take into consideration like future patronage?
Sure.
You know, those three people that came in and say it was closed at 9 instead of 10 are going to go to Home Depot,
Yeah.
and then they're going to spend their money at Home
Oh,
Depot in the future as well.
totally. That's huge. I mean, that's really important, you know. Okay, so is everybody okay with that concept? So somebody wanted to try to tell me what I just said. Let me go back. Let me just take it off here, actually. So tell me what I just said. A firm like Waterworld or Lowe's or whatever. Okay, how long are they, in terms of keeping their doors open, the price level, it's moving up and down due to demand. At what point do they shut their doors?
Falls below variable.
Say it again. When price falls what?
Below average variable,
Below average variable cost. Now tell me why, what's the logic there?
because if you can't afford to sustain your costs, your variable costs, then there's no reason to.
Or to pay your workers.
Okay, so, but it behooves me, now we're almost there. I mean, it's like right there. It behooves me as a company owner, right? If I can open my doors and I can cover all of my variable costs, right? You with me? So I'm covering my workers and the pumps and all that stuff. I'm covering all those costs. If I can pay for all of those, then as long as my doors are open, I'm chunking away just a little bit at my fixed costs, yeah? Does that make sense? So I open my doors, I'm paying all my variable costs. As long as I'm paying my variable costs, there's at least a zero balance and hopefully a little bit left over to start getting into my fixed costs. See what I'm saying? But once that price falls below my variable cost, if I open my doors and I'm having to pay out more money than I'm taking in for that day on variable cost, it doesn't make sense to do it. If I open my doors, I make enough money to pay for my variable costs and maybe have a little bit left over to start getting at my fixed costs, then I'll keep my doors open. Even though I'm taking a net loss, I'm still eating away at fixed costs. Does that make sense? Sort of with me there? Okay. Now, the long run decision is a little simpler though. It's really not rocket science here. Is that for the long run, over the course of a year, if I open my doors and I'm paying all my variable costs, in the short run I'll stay open, right? I'll stay open because I'm paying my variable costs and I'm starting to get at my fixed costs, at least a little bit. But in the long run, if I open my doors and the price, and this is over a year, if the price falls below my average total cost over a year, you know, consistently I'm down in this area, even though I'm paying all my variable costs, I'm not making enough to pay for all my fixed costs, so what happens in the course of a year? Eventually,
You'll shut down.
I exit the market. I have to get out because I can only take a loss for so long. Does that make sense? All right, so let me go back to the graphs that shows both of these. I want to get one that shows the.
If you stayed at like at that 0 mark at the where they were equal.
With this one right here.
Yeah, like you talked about how if the variable costs stayed right at where your price is, you could stay in business.
Yeah,
Could you sustain that indefinitely?
Sure. Right. If your price is right here, wherever that is, and it's right there, you're in business. And I'm glad you said that. Now you're thinking, well, wait a second. I'm just breaking even.
Yeah.
But remember what part of your economic profit involves is your salary.
Yeah.
And part of breaking even means that I'm doing better here than, or at least equal to, than what I would be doing at CAL FIRE or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm making enough money to constitute me still being in this business.
Even though like all your bills are paid, you don't have extra stuff. You're still
got it.
sustained.
And so I may not be getting rich, but my next best choice for me is like CAL FIRE. And I'm doing at least that good, if not even a little bit better, to constitute all the trouble I went to, in an economic sense, Yes, sir.
Are the only companies that are able to shut down, are those like the only companies that can do that are seasonal?
No, I mean, no.
And reopen?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. My instinct says, no, I mean, that shouldn't, but, maybe to a degree you're right, because they have to. No, you could take a loss for a year, though. You could do that. So,
and it's not like
I would say maybe by and large the answer is yes, but I think as a rule it's probably not. And here's what I'm thinking, and we've all seen this. This is just one of those. I mean, it breaks my heart to see it, but we've all been there. Is the company that comes along, opens, Joe's new restaurant, and we've all. It's like you're kind of rooting for them. And you go in and you even are, you go in to try to support them, and the food's not that good. And you hope for the best, but what happens is they open their doors and they live in here, and they try. And what they're trying to do is get it so Anthony's Burger Place, that I can shove the price up here somewhere, so that I can make an economic profit for a while to offset that net economic loss. But they live in here because they're paying all their help, and they're paying all their variable costs, but they're not making enough to cover their rent. You see what I'm saying? And so they live in here, and they do the best they can, and they're really hoping for that. But after a year comes, and they haven't been able to push the price up above average total cost, then they eventually exit the market. Wally World up there. Wally World. Water World.
Waterworks.
What Wally World? Where'd that come from? You guys know what Wally World is?
Walmart. You just combined Walmart and Waterworks Park.
Wally World
It will
is
eventually happen anyway.
the vacation. Clark? Shitter's full.
Like a show, kind of like that.
I'll check that.
Where was I? Okay. Okay, so the little restaurant that you're supporting, you're hoping for, they're living in there because they're paying, the person who's serving the burgers, they're getting paid, right? I mean, they wouldn't be there if they weren't, right? So they're getting paid, and they're making enough money to pay for their help and to pay for having the lights on, or else they wouldn't open their doors. They're making enough money to do that, but they live in here, and after a year, you can't sustain that, so they go away, right? Waterworld, they go up here in the summer. So they're banking a lot of money. They're getting ready. Then as the season gets colder, they slide down. We're still paying all of our people. We're still making enough money to cover our variable costs. And then there comes a point when the price falls below average variable cost, where it doesn't behoove us to open our doors at all, and then we just shut down temporarily.
But they make so much money that they're able to. Their total cost is always above the total cost, right?
Yeah, you got it. I invented that for you guys just now.
So
It's like, what an a-hole.
You are a mind reader.
Huh?
Oh, snap.
She's agreeing with you.
She was disagreeing. You know what? You are an a-hole. Alright, does everybody understand that? Okay, Okay, so
I
now,
don't think
I
it
don't think,
registered.
I don't think so either.
this is the exam. At what point, where does the price fall below for a company to exit the market?
Below average total cost.
Below?
Average variable cost. Average total cost.
Let me ask the question again. I think you guys are all kind of on the right track. Okay, at what point does a firm exit the market? When price does what?
Falls below average total cost.
Okay, and
Total cost.
what's the key component to that? So let me say what you just said and then we'll finish it. Is that she said when price falls below average total cost, which is correct. And what's the last part of that sentence? In the long run. Okay, so when price falls below average total cost in the long run, then the firm exits the market. All right. What is a shutdown? Somebody tell me what that is. And so it's a temporary closing of your doors. And at what point does a firm shut down?
You can't cover variable cost.
When price falls below,
Variable cost.
in the long or the short run?
Short run.
Okay, everybody cool with that? Restaurants, 90% of the restaurants fail. And where do they live the whole time they're open? You got it. Between that average total and that little piece of supply curve, where the hell did I put these? The little piece of supply curve that's in between average variable and average total cost. And what is that constant? What is this difference made up of right there? If this is the summation of this and average fixed cost, right? So the difference between these two right there is represented by average fixed cost. See what I'm saying? Everybody got it? There you go. Easy, huh? You guys probably know more about microeconomics, I would guess, at this point than probably half of the people graduating from university with degrees in economics. I would say. Because I know when I graduated, a lot of the people I graduated with had no clue about this stuff. They were like, but I have good teeth, and my dad is a rich guy. He'll get a job. You know what I mean? And they never really understood it, I don't think. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I always got that impression. I was like, you don't really understand what you're talking about, do you? Everybody get it? Let me see if there's anything else here. This is all just says the exact same thing. So, this is entering the market. I'll save that for later. The long versus the short run, and this is entry and exit. Okay, I'm going to save that for later. That plays a little different. Okay, let me get some definitions out of the way. So is everybody kind of cool with that? Everybody good with it? Can they explain it back? Why? How? All right. Let me go to, and these are just definitions. This is easy stuff. I just want to get them out of the way. Lots of exam questions here. So now, the other side of the spectrum, monopolies. Okay, so the PC, we've talked about the characteristics. Let me, just real fast, let me reiterate. Okay, so PC, lots and lots of firms, price takers. They don't have impact on the market. They can sell as much or as little as they wish. What else? Anything else about them? Entry and exit is easy. They don't have to, to change from tomatoes to broccoli is no big deal. So it's easy to enter into a different kind of commodity market, no problem. All right, so there's the PC market. And we looked at the, where they maximize their profit. I forgot what that is. At what point, what two curves intersect where they maximize their profit? What two curves?
Marginal revenue, marginal cost.
Marginal revenue, marginal cost. Does everybody understand why that is? Pretty much. You got the $6, marginal revenue, average revenue price. You got the marginal cost curve creeping up due to diminishing marginal product. Where they intersect is where you're maximizing your Q. Everybody good with that? All right. Now, monopoly, just kind of the other side of the spectrum, but really all the principles are exactly the same. All right, so now monopolies are the only game, and they're the only player in town. So instead of being takers like the competitive markets are in terms of the price, they make the price. That's good. However, can they just, so I'm the only person, I have a lock on some fundamental market in our economy. We talked a little, I mean, there's different kinds of monopolies, but give me something that, let's say I have a lock on, and I don't want to, sound morbid, but it's just a good example. I have a lock on heart transplants. There's no other company in the North State that does heart transplants. I'm the only one. Okay, so I'm a monopoly, all right? There's nobody else competing with me. I have complete control of the market. So I can make the price, right? All right, so is there anything kind of restricting me? Yep.
Yeah, insurance companies.
Don't even care about them, because it's an inelastic commodity, and if you're going to buy insurance, you better make damn sure they cover heart attacks.
Say if it's over 300,000, then we're not covering it, so you're just gonna have to go to LA or something.
Okay, so you're kind of you're on the right track. Go ahead.
Well, you're not the only one in the world.
I'm not, okay, so like kind of what Rick said is that if, heaven forbid you need a heart transplant, Anthony's heart transplant store is just way too expensive.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
Would you like this heart?
If you need a heart transplant, like right this, like if I was like needed a new heart right this second, like
Yeah.
I would pay the extra money.
Yeah,
You gotta
right.
do it, or my
You
family.
have to.
would.
Right, and the insurance companies are, you know what, they're going to listen to me because I'm the only game in town, right? They're going to have to. And so when I say the price is $300,000, if the insurance companies say no, what are you guys going to do? You're going to say, well, we need new insurance. You guys are not covering our needs. We need to find a company that'll do it, and that'll give rise because there's a demand to a new company that will cover the heart transplant costs. True?
As like a person who's, it's like, so you have a monopoly on that, would you like, as the only one who's doing it, would you set the price to like however much you want to make off of it because the surgeons have to get paid, so however much the surgeon requires for
Right.
surgery,
Right.
anesthesiologist, hospital bills, so you would just price it to however much you would want it.
Right, pretty much. But now, and you got it. And now, are there any restrictions on that? Well, I think since I'm the only game in town, I have a lock on the market, I've got all the capital, I've got all these surgeons in my hip pocket. I'm going to charge for one transplant, I'm going to charge $1 trillion. All right, $1 trillion. Now, how many customers do I get?
Zero.
None.
Damn it. Let
It's
me
not
try that again.
realistic.
I will charge $1 billion. None. So what's the problem I'm facing? It's kind of what Rick said,
It's not
but
realistic.
it's not. Yeah, it's not realistic. And I still have, even though I have a lock on the market, what do I still have in terms of my constituency? I still have a demand, right? There's still a demand curve out there. The laws of economics say I've got to, if I don't adhere to the law of demand, that I'm just shooting myself in the foot. There's no way I can get around that. And so demand is still there. And so I still have to price in a way that's consummate with my consumer's ability to pay, right? Or else what good is it? That's kind of what Rick said, really. All right, so I can make the price, but there's limits because you guys, or none of us, it's not like I can, but we can't afford $1 trillion for a heart transplant. If that was the cost, that would be the end of me, right? And so $1 billion, that's out. $1 million, that's out. 100,000, maybe with insurance, maybe. I mean, 50,000 insurance, hopefully. 30,000,
It's way more, it's
Yeah,
not
it's-
deep.
300,
Yeah, it's about 300,000.
300,000, and without insurance, I'm done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm done. There's no way I can pay. All right. So if you're a monopoly, if you're the sole seller of the product, and of course there's no other thing you can do for a heart transplant. It is what it is. And there's 3 kinds of monopolies. What time?
25.
So there's 3 types of monopolies. This is good exam stuff.
Have you ever seen the movie Repo Men?
It's an awful
Mm,
movie.
long time ago.
Where they like go and they give people organ transplants and charge them exorbitant amounts of money and then go back and repossess them and they can't pay.
Long time ago. Is that Nicolas Cage?
No, it's Jude Law and
The movie's the weirdest movie.
the black guy with the lazy eye. Heavier set. Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker.
Yes. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. My brother's gonna kill us. He's gonna shit, and then he's gonna kill us. Okay, so why is it that monopolies are rising? And there's a couple other reasons, but for us it's good enough to know this. This is really the best thing. It really is that monopolies are given, the reason they can exist at the end of the day is they can keep competition out. And there's a few ways they can do that, but that's the answer. So how does a monopoly survive? Well, it keeps competition away. They push competition to the side because they have more resources, or they have patents, or they have, there's reasons for it. Right? So barriers to entry, that's how monopolies survive. They keep people out. And how do they do that? And there's basically three ways. Ready? And I'll go through each of these. And there's lots of examples, not a lot, but a few anyway for sure, exam questions here. Okay, so they have ownership of a key resource like diamonds maybe, or gasoline to an extent, or whatever. The government gives power to the corporation to become a monopoly, and there's reasons for that. And then economies of scale, natural monopolies like PG&E.
How did you reword the second one? Like the government gives them power to.
Yeah, like through patents. Like Microsoft patents. Was it Windows 8? And it's hard to copy that because if you get close to doing kind of what they're doing, they're going to say you're infringing on our copyright, and they keep competition away.
I don't think it like stop and
Cease and desist. Yeah. And if somebody tries to get close to Oracle's been charged with this, and back in the day, Netscape was where they got accused of like emulating Windows and just stealing their software essentially, and then calling it their own. And even though it was probably ground up development, Windows defended it and said we're the ones that invented this technology, and we should be compensated for the research and development. We're going to protect our intellectual property.
That's supposedly how Apple started.
By stealing.
Yeah, Steve Jobs and Pat Bell.
I kind of remember that, and that's.
But they never went after him for it, so
Right,
that's
right.
their loss.
Hmm?
Oh, well.
Yeah, right.
You're right. That's exactly what it is. Okay.
What about
So here we go. Let me get through these, and we'll get the hell out of here. Ownership of a key resource. This is pretty easy. This would be like owning like diamonds or oil or something like that. That oil is really kind of an oligopoly, which is more not quite monopoly because there's more than one oil producer in the world, of course. But to a degree, the Middle East has kind of a monopoly, kind of. And I know we produce a lot of oil, and South America produces a lot of. I know this, but Middle East is kind of known for being an oil-producing area, and they kind of have a monopoly. Not really. De Beers Diamonds is a good example of a predatory monopoly that forcefully keeps people out. Did I ever tell you, and I didn't, maybe from an old class, but the story about De Beers Diamonds? Did I ever tell you how they're a monopoly?
Just one last semester.
Last
Not this
semester.
class.
Maybe let me get through these and then I'll tell you how De Beers is a monopoly. It's kind of interesting. All right, so everybody cool with that? Number 2, government created monopolies, and that would be like copyrights and stuff. And it also patents, and there's a reason for this, and I'll explain why. Back in, I don't know, this was probably 1990, I'm kind of guessing, maybe 91, somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure, but it was in there. And I don't mean to be flip or light or funny about it. I want to be serious and tell you what happened was that when I started college, I lived across the street from the Chi Omegas, and I've made fun of it. It's got its good points for sure, but what happened was there was a lot of sex, and there was a lot of, you just didn't really worry about it too much. You just go over and you'd meet somebody and you'd have sex with them, and that would be that, and maybe you'd see them again, maybe you wouldn't, and it wasn't a big deal. Around this time, I'm in maybe my sophomore year of college, and sex is just really not something you thought about very much. You just did it, and it was part of the process on a Friday night. And I had a friend named Perry, who I grew up with. He grew up in Los Alamos with me, and he moved to San Francisco, went to college out there. One day, just walking along, and I'm talking with a friend of mine, and somebody mentioned that Perry died. I'm like, what? What did he die from? Well, they don't know. He just, all of a sudden, he started, looking real gaunt and just sort of lost his soul and died, And, kind of a weird thing, and, it was sad and all that stuff. And then we hear, 2 weeks later that one of Perry's friends dies. And then one of their friends dies. And then one of their friends dies. And all of a sudden, all these people that were in the gay community are passing away from this unknown thing. And, of course, that eventually became AIDS. And what happened was that as Perry died, and I guess the moral of that story is that it changed the culture at University of New Mexico, changed it overnight. We went from, you'd go from, not me, but anybody, you'd go from, meet somebody, you'd have sex with them, and you'd see them tomorrow, you wouldn't think twice. It changed overnight because people were scared, and rightfully so. And anyway, so Perry, this mystery illness comes along, and you know what happened? Nothing. You know why? Because it doesn't pay to do research and development on a disease that affects less than 200,000 people. Sad but true. If we do all this research and development into something that really only, 100 people are affected by, it doesn't pay off for the companies doing the research and development. And it was also, there was this kind of moral thing going through and I think it's gone, so I'm not as worried about saying this, but then there's all these pinheads that are saying, well, somehow the gay community deserved it. And it was like, hello, what kind of pinhead is going to say that, People are dying, we need to fix it. So what happened is that these companies start doing research and development, but the problem is there's no payoff for them. So there's no incentive for them to put millions and millions of dollars into the research and development. However, government comes along, and I'm not making a comment on government, but they're the ones that save the day. And the reason is because they say if you develop something that works, which they've gotten to, it's not a cure, but they're getting there. And the reason that companies are interested in doing the research and development is pretty simple, because they can patent their formulas. And so they get a drug that does something that's good, they can patent it, and then they get a lock on the market for the next 7 years. And they can earn their money back. It's that simple. And if they couldn't, if I did some research and development that cured AIDS or lupus or something horrible, that if I didn't have protection, then what would stop you or anybody from just copying the formula and selling it at cost? You see what I'm saying? So there's no incentive for me to throw the money into the research and development. But if I can get a protection from my competitors about the formula, then I'm incentivized to make something to fix it. Does that make sense? Right, so that's number 2, monopoly. And then number 3 are natural monopolies, which of course are the PG&Es and the ones that have economies of scale where it's hard to match. And even if you could generate your own electricity, you still would have a huge problem delivering it. All right. tell you just real fast about the predatory monopoly, just to kind of clarify, or maybe I'll add, I don't know, is that one of the go-to examples about predatory monopolies, like a real true keep the competition out monopolies, is De Beers diamond. And let me kind of explain how they do it. And it's interesting, and you're actually part of their plan, but you don't even know it. Okay, De Beers Diamonds is a multinational corporation that has mines all over the world. They own predominantly, a lot of them are in Africa, right? A lot of them are in South America, but Africa is kind of the nation. Did you guys ever see Blood Diamond? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so you kind of know what I'm talking about then. All right, so what they do is they have a lock on these mines. And here's, even to make it worse, is they get factions within countries warring with each other for water rights to mine diamonds. So think about that for a second, is that you and I have this demand for diamonds that's actually fueling a war in Sierra Leone. Think about that. So we want a diamond that comes from the earth, and you've got government and anti-government establishments in Sierra Leone fighting each other with AK-47s to get water rights to mine those diamonds to send to me and you. Think about that for a second. That's pretty heavy stuff. All right, so they have these mines, and they own the mines. And they even have countries warring each other for control. They get the diamonds out of the ground, and at the expense of these hardworking, good people, I think, that have, really no other alternatives because their countries aren't very productive. They don't have a lot of land, labor, capital. The only choice they have is to work where the work is. That leaves them working in a diamond mine with bullets flying over their heads because the AK-47s are going off, because the government and the factions are trying to get control of the water rights. True story. I'm not making this stuff up. All right, so they mine these diamonds. There's no way they can capitalize. They can't profiteer from it because if they try, they're going to get their heads shot off. They give the diamonds to the diamond miners, which is still a De Beers diamond. All right, the diamonds uncut end up, not exclusively, but generally end up in the Middle East. The Middle East is where a lot of diamond cutters are. Israel, Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, a lot of professional, high-skilled diamond cutters are there. So they go to these, let's just say Israel, I don't care, just somewhere in the Middle East, okay? And then they get cut into diamonds kind of as we know them, okay? From there, they get sent off to, they're still De Beers diamonds, by the way. They get sent off to the, metros, to the, to Paris, to Milan, to New York, to LA, to, around the world. Still De Beers diamonds. Then they get distributed to all these smaller stores, like Zales or wherever. And then Zales, I'm kind of omitting some steps there, but Zales, diamonds, do we have a Zales here? No. What's a diamond place we have here?
Devon's.
What is it?
Devon's.
Devon's. Okay, so Devon's. So Devon's, there's kind of a wholesale process that goes on. I skipped over that just in the interest of time. But then Devon's buys the diamond. It's still technically a De Beers diamond. I mean, they buy it from De Beers, so now it's a Devon's diamond, but it came from De Beers. Now remember where the diamonds are coming from. That's the important part. So Devon's puts the diamond on a ring, and they put it on display. Now, what do? I love my girlfriend so much. She's so great. I'm going to ask her to marry me because she's so wonderful. Now, I walk into Devon's, and they have a plan for me, What's their plan for me? I walk in, I say, I love her so much. I want to give her a ring because I love her so much. And they're going to tell me, well, if you really love her, if you truly love her, you're going to buy her a ring that costs how much?
3 months salary.
How much?
3 months salary.
$600. Holy moly. Okay, because I love her so much, I've got to prove it to her, so I'm going to spend 3 months' salary. Because I got to prove it to her, right? If I don't, I'm a fool. All right, so I get the diamond, I put it in a box, I go get down on one knee and say, won't you please marry me? And what does she say?
No.
There's always one.
It's not big enough.
Of course she said, yes, I love you. All right, so, we got through the ceremony, I put the ring on her finger. We get married, we have a couple of kids, we live a happy life. Everything's going along, and one day I get home from work, and she's looking at my cell phone and says, "Who's this Tiffany chick?" Whoops-a-daisy. So we get divorced. I skipped a lot of steps there. So we get divorced. Now, okay, so she goes and marries some guy named Bob, you know, who has cool cars. And I live in a trailer down by the river because she took all my stuff. Right? And now follow the ring. So she marries some fancy guy named Bob. We get older and kind of get to the sunset of our lives. She passes away. Where's the ring go?
To her daughter.
Okay, so the ring becomes an estate, part of her estate, and the ring goes to her daughter, or our kids. Let's just say the daughter, keep it easy. Now, the ring is with our daughter. Now she passes away, I passed away. Right now the daughter gets a little bit older, and they have a box of special things, right? And what's in there is Grandma's ring. Everybody's got the box. Everybody knows, right? It's a box of special things, and what's in there? Grandma's ring. So the mother passes it to the daughter passes it to her daughter, and in the family it stays, right? And it becomes a memento, and it means something to me, and it reminds me of my grandmother. It makes me kind of choked up when I think about it. It means something to me. Everybody with me? Now, what's happening to that ring in terms of resale?
It's invaluable.
To you,
Yeah.
It doesn't get resolved.
it doesn't get resold. So it comes out of the market, and what's happened to you is that you've got it in your head that this ring is invaluable. I'm not saying it's not because of all the memories it generates, but you don't think Zales had anything to do with that? Or beg your pardon, De Beers? So De Beers, now remember, what's their slogan?
Diamond lasts forever.
A diamond is forever. Well, guess what? We bought it, and it's forever.
So it does. So there's no competition.
There's no,
anymore.
well, because what's
No
happening
resale
with that ring is
competition.
it's not hitting the resale market. It's once it goes into the market, it's gone because you and I attach all this value to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now here's where it even gets more interesting. Is now I'm a smart guy. I'm not going to buy a ring from De Beers or Devon's because I know what they're doing. I know what they're up to. So I'm going to go to Joe's pawn shop and buy a ring there. Right? So I go into Joe's pawn shop and I'm looking at the rings. But what really, and I'm not saying you're smart for going there, but think about it for a second. What's wrong with those rings?
They don't have the sentimental.
They're broken. You know why?
They're someone else's memories.
Because that diamond wasn't forever. It must be faulty somehow. I don't want to buy that one because if a diamond is forever, this one's broke.
Yeah.
So that pushes me back into the new market, yeah? Make sense? Yours is pretty sneaky. And then you and I, the only diamond that will do for her is one that cost me 3 months' salary. And that we can never give up because of all the memories we hook into it because a diamond is forever. And then I'll go back to the beginning of the story, and there's a guy in Sierra Leone who's dodging bullets from AK-47s from warring factions who are protecting water rights so that you and I can have a box of special diamonds. Think about it.
Wow.
Crazy, huh? All right, have a good week.
Now I feel like shit.